Good day, everyone, and welcome to The Journey. I am Reverend Bobby, and today I have my grow up boyhood. We was all boys, me and all five of his brothers. Mr. Eric Butler. How are you doing today, Eric?
Doing just great, Reverend Bobby. And yourself?
I'm doing fine, and while Eric's doing great and I'm doing fine, you do fine too. And subscribe to the channel. Gospel of Robert, capital GOSPELOF, capital ROBERT at YouTube. And you might have to put the at sign in front to get to the page to hit the subscribe button. We're working everything out. So, Eric,
Yes.
give the people a snippet. Give them something about who Eric is and what he's about.
Okay. My name is Eric Mark Butler Sr. And I am, as Reverend Bobby said, we go back to, I'm 62 years old. And he's known my family. He's known me since I was a child. And we have, and he's really great friends to my family and like brothers to our circle and family. So I was raised. I am from Southside Chicago, born in 92nd and Normal, and the first house that I lived in that I know of that my grandfather built. It was a bricklayer from New Orleans, and grew up with five brothers, and I'm actually the last one living. Michael, Wally, Gary, Craig, and Keith. I keep them close in my spirit every day, along with the rest of my family tree. And so father was a school teacher, mother was a homemaker. We grew up in the movement. Used to be called Operation Breadbasket with Dr. King, Reverend Jackson. So it instilled in me um, uh, to kind of help me to be who I am. Today, I work for the Office of Inspector General for the state of Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. I've been with this organization for the last 24 years plus. I do a lot of, on my own time, I do a lot of um, other volunteer work. Like if you can see this sweatshirt, it says Voice of the People for Affordable Housing Uptown. I'm the president of the board of directors, volunteer position. We have about 14 properties. We have small staff. We serve about 800 children, families, disabled um, folks. Um, and we actually just got a $25 million project going with our partners called POA, Preservation of Affordable Housing. They partner with us, and we have about five buildings where our residents who are low income or disabled who are on the north side of Chicago, close to the lakefront, are going to get new, bathrooms and roofs and things of that nature. We do a lot of residential outreach services. Besides that, I do a lot of work with the organization called Northside Action for Justice, where we deal with a lot of folks, human rights and equal liberty. So I do a lot of different things. I'm a political consultant on the side. So I help people get elected. I've helped several people get elected from different levels of government to alder persons to elected school board. The last election I helped with, I was the campaign chair for a lady who ran for elected school board. She lost, but she was appointed by the mayor. Han Nguyen, our state representative, he just got reelected, first Vietnamese American to be a state representative in Illinois, actually. So I'm all over the place. I have a family, wife, and adult kids. I'm a new grandfather. So I'm all over the place, just trying to get in where I fit in and just try to help my brothers and sisters as much as I can and be a resource. So that's a little bit of who I am.
Well, I know you a good resource. Because you know my relationship with you, and when you need, I drop of the hat. I come to help you because I know you do good. Now, are most of the properties or the properties you referring to? Are most of them in Uptown, or are all of them in Uptown in the
They're all in
Ward
Uptown.
area? Okay,
Yes,
okay,
and they're
okay.
in like 14 different properties, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Because I know I used to live in Uptown over on Wilson Avenue long time ago, and it's made great strides since like 40 years ago. When I was over there. And what keeps you going, man? What keeps you energized? Because I know your plate do be full. And I mean, you gotta be tired sometimes. Take a nap.
yeah. What keeps me going is I believe in God. I pray um, every day, every night, morning, nights. I just have that will for helping people. When I was a child, I can remember just real quick, just having lost a mother the day before my ninth birthday on the south side of Chicago. Um, and there were like 6 kids, you know what I'm saying? And we ended up um, going, we saw a lot, because at that
Yeah.
time we were dealing with the Black Panthers, we were dealing with Dr. King, we were dealing with the movement. Um, and so anyway, after mom passed, I can remember we didn't get counseling back then, back in
Right.
the 70s, or my family did, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So we were just kind of making it do what it do, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so I can remember I had got in trouble with this substitute
Not
teacher.
you.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God! I gotta write this down.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What do you call it? It's what do they call it? Statutes of liberty, of limited.
Of limitations.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I had gotten in trouble with this assistant principal. He twisted, not an assistant principal. He was a substitute teacher. He was twisting my arm, and next thing I know, I threw something at him, and then next thing I know, I was in a mobile unit with children who were at risk, right? And back in the day, they had different terms
Right.
that I won't even say it, but they said I guess they thought I was, out there. So and some of the
They're
kids
gonna
were.
send you to Mosley where my daddy was.
No, I didn't go to Mosley, but I was I was in a mobile unit at Kipling Ryard, which is with most of my. Did you go to Kipling? Yeah, and my dad taught a lot of kids in CUNY. Anyway, they had me in a mobile unit with it. Back in the day, they called it, they were mentally challenged, okay?
Okay.
But they had other words that just aren't appropriate, that I wouldn't even want to say right now.
Right.
And so
They
anyway,
were just labeling you so they could
Mhm.
write you off.
Yeah, so, and I wasn't in there for long, but I remember being at recess with these children, and the other kids were making fun of these kids because they were mentally challenged, and I was protecting them. I was like, no, you're not gonna mess with them. So I was a big kid when I was little. And then I think that just kind of, that kept on going. The older I went, I haven't had many fights in my life,
Uh-huh.
but the ones I did were mostly protecting people. So my will for doing what we do is to make sure that, man, voice of the people, man. You know what I'm saying? Of someone who will stand up and to make sure that you just can't bully people all the time and just get away with it. I take that risk. We take that risk. We're in a state of crisis right now, where in my opinion, as a society, we're being bullied. You know what I'm saying? So we have to stand up. It's kind of like each one reach one.
Yeah.
We can't save the world, but I can check on, Reverend Bobby, how you doing? What can we do? So that's kind of keeps me going in that regard.
And that's the real thing. Each one reach one. You and I look out for each other. We get ourselves all healed up, could think straight. And like the conversation we had, some of the conversations we were having when I came up and we were eating gumbo and everybody came. That was your birthday, wasn't it?
Yes, it was
Oh my God!
my
See,
62nd birthday. I'm a senior citizen.
I don't forget everything, but you gotta walk it back. Yeah, we was eating gumbo, the house full of Cheryl, the whole family. Oh, that's right, there's his birthday. But
Had a ball. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. But in those conversations, the rudimentary basis and the basics foundations of who and what we are, how important is that to have that as we walk forward in these really kind of crazy times somewhat.
It to me it means everything. Most of the folks that are in some of the spaces that I'm in, whether it's family and friends and relatives and folks of this nature, I have a we have it's important to have a good name. You know what I'm saying? And certainly made several mistakes. Been in. I can remember my dad telling me at around 17, and my father was a school teacher. He was all around um,
Yeah.
person, and he told me, he said, "Well, the way you acting, you're not gonna get past 17." And I was kind of rough around. I was rough around the edges. I was just out there. Um, but
You
but I
were adventurous.
adventure.
Sagittarius is love adventure.
Yeah, hanging out in Cabrini Green with my friends, playing basketball and goofing off and doing what young people do, and just being an all around kind of cat. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
was kind of fearless, but you get kind of woke up when you get challenged in the real world. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
you could be kind of fearless because there's a lot of things you don't think about. Like Brandon don't think about nothing. He goes and he comes and that kind of stuff. But when you hit reality with it could be gang stuff, it could be racism stuff, and it kind of like smacks you in the face, and it don't stop you, but it makes you more aware of your surroundings and stuff. And was that a big realization for you as you was the cat?
Yeah, it really was. I can I can remember, just being out there in the hood and just thinking I was fearless, and I can remember, being in a position where I was actually in a fight, right, with one a good friend of mine, and we were mad at each other, and we were fighting, and we were goofing off, you know what I'm saying, doing things that just weren't um, in a civil way, put it that way. And so one of his friends, he just got out the joint, and and I didn't see him. We were doing what we were doing, and snuck up and punched me, right. And he hurt me. And then the guy was fighting. He was like, "No," you know what I'm saying. And then so it just kind of was like, wow, you know what I'm saying. I'm not invincible, you know what I'm saying. So, and that kind of taught me. I was looking for this guy, but it kind of taught me a lesson. You gotta make sure that you understand that ain't nobody out here. There's always somebody out here who is you can be very vulnerable and think that you all that, but we're just like everybody else trying to survive.
Oh yeah, you always have to be aware of your surroundings and stuff. But
Hmm.
when you get those lessons, it kind of helps you in moving yourself forward and developing those skills and talents that you have. And I know that one of the things I watch you do is build relationships with
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Where
Yes.
where did you learn how to do that, and how did you learn how important that was? Because you was a relationship building dude.
That's very, very observant and appreciative of it. Thank you very much. The YMCA. The YMCA, I've been in the
YSCA.
YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. Man, when we left the far south side of Chicago, we went to Hyde Park, and it kind of split up the family. Mama was gone, the three older boys, the old man sold the house,
Right,
and three younger boys, me, Craig, and Keith, we went to Hyde Park. And
right.
the three older boys, they had the old man was like, well, here's some money. You got you y'all on your own. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? And
yeah.
so anyway, we ended up being in Hyde Park, which was a very diverse community. I went from being in an all black school as a child to a mixed school. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Where my friends were Irish and German and Asian and You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
was
because you know that's where I live now, across the street from your school.
my old high school. Yeah,
Yeah,
Kenwood Academy, go
yeah,
Broncos.
yeah.
Which is, ooh, man, that's even interesting in itself. Because sometimes I catch you on when you go through the neighborhood and
Oh
give
yeah,
your
yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
stories. Yeah, but yeah, the YMCA I started when I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I just grew up in the Y. By the time I was a senior in high school, I had keys to the place. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And to as a 17-year-old young man, you understand what I'm saying, who had keys to the place. If you got keys, that means they open something. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? So when all these different people, whether we were coaching them and whether we were teaching them how to swim, it just planted so many seeds. And you had to, coming up at some of the rough times. We came from this middle class family, right? The old man was a school teacher. The mom was a caretaker and um a she was in the civil rights movement with the rest of us. We would have push every Saturday.
Plus, she was a
But
lunch feeder because I used to eat lunch over there.
praise the Lord.
I did,
What was your favorite
and
lunch?
we was at Kibble.
What was your favorite lunch over at my house that she would make?
She used to make noodle soup and these little sandwiches. I forget what the
Okay.
sandwiches
There
was.
you go. Right on. Right on. Wow, that's awesome. So we that planet, by the time I was a senior in high school, I was like an assistant director at the day camp. I was, I had learned how to run the cash register. Just interacting with people from all walks. You understand what I'm saying? I had become good at that. And that was planted in me. And that's who I am to this day, is bringing good people together. You understand? You're gonna be around people who don't have your better interests at heart, who will use you. You understand what I'm saying? But one of the things that I've learned is, if you're doing it and you're righteous about it, the Creator is going to protect you. You understand what I'm saying? As much as He can, but
Yeah.
you can't. You just can't let people, how they say, put Kool-Aid in your ear and tell you it's raining. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying?
So how
So
comfortable? How
I ended up being a
comfortable?
director in the Y at
Yeah.
New City Y on the north side, Chicago. So
We used to
all
come
that
there
stuff.
before we would go to work in the morning, New City, play ball, get a swim when I was working at
Really?
IBM.
Oh wow, that's
Mhm.
powerful.
So
IBM is
how did you handle the responsibility? Was it easy for you to step into these roles of responsibility?
it was a
Did you?
learning. It was a lot to learn, because one of the things I can tell you, Reverend Bobby, was I had good, really good people who knew I was kind of at risk, but they put the time into me, like Dolly Johnson, Jeannie Thigpen, Bill Mitchell, all these different people in the Y. They when Hyde Park Y closed down, they opened a Y over New City Y and Cabrini Green area,
Right,
right? So this is
right.
a whole. This was like, back in the day, this was rough. You understand what I'm saying? People wouldn't
Yeah.
even go. So we ended up, I went to the Army after high school. The old man
Mhm.
was like, "Well, you got to do something. You
Right.
going to the college or you going to the Army?" I said, "Well, I'm kind of tired of school," and I went to the Army. So I went to the Army. That's where I got a lot of discipline too, because I was competing against. We were all, it put a whole bunch of us together. You understand, from different parts of the world, and you
Mhm.
became one. You grew up as went to a military school, so you have an idea. When one person messes up, everybody pays
That's
for it. You
everybody,
understand?
right?
The weakest link. A good leader should be measured by the most vulnerable people that you lead. You
Right,
understand what I'm saying? And it's
right.
simple as that. So even in the Army, in boot camp, there were kids from all over. We're 18-year-olds, and so there were people from all over. And the issue is some of these kids, some of our Caucasian brothers, they had never been around blacks. You
Right.
understand? I've been around diverse communities, so and so some of the guys who weren't as fast or who couldn't keep up, they they were picked on. They were physically picked on. You
Right.
understand? It's just like that
But
movie with the few good men,
right.
which is one of my old favorite movies. I look at it to today. So I would protect them too. I'd be like, nah, you ain't, they call me Shot Town. I'm like, nah, you, no, you're not gonna do that to him. You know, we all in this. So it's just always been that way. But
Mhm.
in just growing up, and it was trial and error. You know what I'm saying? I've learned the hard way. I really did. You know what I'm saying? And then I just got to the point where we were able to, I just kept being promoted. You know what I'm saying? I ended up being director of membership service at the Y. Then I got recruited out of the Y to go work for all the woman Helen Schiller, and it was working in politics and working for the Olive person, because and the Y, everybody's a winner at the Y, but in politics, which was uptown Chicago, which is where we've been, my wife and we raised my family for the last 30 years. I ended up working for a gentleman who's actually our governor now, who was running for office about 20 years ago. And I was good with people. It was still that outreach to the people. And these guys, the people that recruited me, like George Jackson, my godfather, they was like, wow, you good with people. And I was getting signatures. I got done what I needed to do to help these folks get elected. So that was like, so people was like, wow, we need Eric on our team. You know what I'm saying? So it ended up that we've helped a lot of people who run this government to today. And I've slowed down a lot, but I've had to have a balance, because working in state government and doing politics, you have to be extremely careful. But working for Dolly Johnson in the Y, working for Denise Kane at the Inspector General, these were all incredible. I was really blessed and lucky to be with people who just weren't, most people, um, look at politics and say that, everybody's a dirty and everybody's a liar, but that's not the case.
No, it's
I
not.
was just blessed to be around some really incredible people who were righteous people. You understand what I'm saying?
Politics,
So
politics is a good deal. It's an interesting game. Um,
to say the least.
but it's a cool thing. I was around the fringes. People thought I did politics, because I knew stuff. But I never did. I was at a job and stuff, but I would be around and I knew stuff and things. But it's an interesting game. And it seems like you enjoy it a lot. That's why I call you the kingmaker, because you're always out there getting somebody elected. How
Man, that's a
fulfilling, how fulfilling has that part of your life been for you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it becomes you get a reputation. You get a reputation. Most of the folks that we've helped have gotten elected, which is, I mean, and some we've lost some too. You know what I'm
Of
saying? But
course.
like I say, State Representative Han Nguyen, who's the 13th district, never had a Vietnamese American. We got him elected, and this kid went to Yale and Harvard, and
Harvard.
his Harvard. And listen, this kid, his family, his dad fought with the Americans on behalf of
In South
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
His mom was a Chinese worker who was working, you know what I'm saying, a domestic worker, and they killed half of his family. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we've all got a story,
Oh,
with
oh,
slavery.
definitely.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
has a
And so,
story. That's
oh my God,
that's that's the beauty of life. I think is everybody got a story.
that's right.
So, continuing with your story, how do you feel today as a grandpa? You even got a tummy these days and that kind of stuff. How you feel as you made it all the way to this point in your life, and as you look back over it, and how you feel about you?
I'm there's thing I took the hard way. I wish I had done a few some things a different way. Like, I needed to really go to get a master's degree in different things of the scholarly way. You understand what I'm saying? So I took the hard road. You know what I'm saying? And but you know what? I have a really good name, and I'm very proud of me having a good name, because I get calls, Reverend Bob. I mean, so many calls about just I was talking with a lady yesterday who's a part of different organizations where her son is dealing with some stuff in at their high school. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? I got a call it. So it's almost like um working for the people, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Without letting it getting burnt out. But it's very gratifying to have a wife who have stood with me and I've stood with her. um, she's better on in the financial. You know what I'm saying? So she's, you know, we own our own townhome. You know what I'm saying? We've raised our kids that went to really good schools. Uh, you know, my middle daughter has a master's degree. She's you know she's doing really good stuff. My son is a music producer. My oldest daughter is you know she was working in government for a while. She's doing some other stuff now. My wife retired from government service. And so we've been wounded in war, but we're still standing. We're still strong. And it's just I sometimes, you know, one of the hardest parts is just not being able to be around my brothers and my
Yeah.
mother. And you know what I'm saying? You have your incredible mother, Mrs. Yarbrough, who used to ride us from Oakdale Park, and when we were walking home from Oakdale Park, and Sherry and you know all that family, you know, that's the just the hardest part of it. But beyond that, God has kept me. He's
Yeah.
kept us. You know,
Yeah.
He's kept us, and it's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling.
Well, you
I
good
feel I
family.
feel like I could have done better, but it's like, I mean, man,
But you
he,
know, we all feel we could have done better in hindsight. And like I said, I don't know about the scholarly way because it's a whole lot of stuff that you are scholarly in, from the experience, from the
yeah,
people you've been around, from the knowledge you just sucked up from,
yeah.
from everybody you've been around. So
I tell him
you,
I got a PhD in life, baby.
yeah, and that's important because sometimes like when I worked for IBM, sometimes the dudes in the ivory tower didn't have a clue because they wasn't out on the street, like we was. And but when Dee Dee called my sister in Atlanta, Dee Dee called me the people reverend. Cause
Yeah, yes.
I'm gonna be okay, but let me help out. Another friend of mine yesterday, we were supposed to do one of these. She was saying, I can't do it today, Bobby. These people are not gonna lose their houses on my watch. It ain't gonna happen. I need to focus today. And to give and to helping people. And real quick, as we almost out on this journey today,
Can I
um,
say something real quick, Reverend?
yeah, yeah, I'm a
I've
finna
got
answer you.
I've got some people, and here I am organizing. I got some people that I'd like for you to have a conversation with, that I think that would be appropriate for your show.
Okay.
Um. Anyway,
All
go
right,
ahead.
we'll talk about that later.
Okay, that's cool.
But for right now, uh, with all the PhDs in life that you have, what would you say to people, when they hit that wall, or when they think that they can't do, or when somebody try to convince them that they can't do? What would you say to them?
I would. What would I say to them? I would say, I would just basically be like, do you have a spiritual? Do you have any spirit in you? Because everybody don't believe in God. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
You believe in the Creator. I would start there, and if they say no, you know what I'm saying, I'm still work with you. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? But I would basically saying, as long as you are trying to do the right thing, and like Spike Lee said, do the right thing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
If we've got issues, we need to deal with those issues. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Whatever those issues are. There's all kind of issues because ain't none of us perfect. But
None of it.
but if you're willing to try and make sure that you want to surround yourself with some with decent people that are trying to do the right thing. I'll never forget. I was hanging out on 47th Street with some neighbors, and guys were rolling dice on the street corner, and I was standing there with a radio, and it was just, and the police came. Guess what they did? They locked all us up, except for one guy who we kind of looked at him like, because he was real street, so they knew they didn't want to waste his time with him. They would just send us a message, so we ended up getting a disorderly conduct. But I was hanging out with the wrong crowd that particular day, even though it was what it was. But I would just tell her, I would just say, you know what, you got to do. One of the things I've been successful is you got to do the research. You got to figure out if you are pursuing a job, you need to make sure who is running this show, who's the top dog in the show. You understand what I'm saying? And you need to know, whenever if I'm gonna meet someone, I try and figure out exactly who they are, what they do, how they do it, and then because you have to be prepared. You got to be prepared, and you got to be trying to do the right thing as much as you can. It's okay that you don't know what you're getting ready to get into in regards to just how you're gonna survive with this. But you just need to make sure that you do your research and you're trying to do the right thing for the right reason, and understand there are failures you can't succeed, and if you don't know how to not succeed, or if you
and the do your research is important, because where I came from, that's what we did. Look at who the president is, the S&P, his dossier. So what drives him and what's on his mind. Well, this journey is over. We didn't hit our limit. You gonna come back and do another one?
Absolutely, Reverend Bob, Lord spare. It's been a joy to do this. And I'd love to get a copy of it, because just so I can hear what I was saying.
You don't have to tell me how I run my stuff. You already know you're gonna get something. That's why I like him, ladies and gentlemen. He's so full of stuff. Amen. But
Amen.
Listen, from me and Eric, we want you to journey well. We want you to subscribe. Gospel of Robert, GOSPELOF, capital ROBRT. YouTube may have to put the @ sign in front of it to get to the page to subscribe. But from Eric and myself, we pray, we hope, we wish, we demand from the universe that you journey well in this life. Peace and take care.